Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up before the video starts. Bold and the Beautiful has Paris Buckingham realizing that Thomas Forrester's baggage accumulates as Carter Walton enters the picture on the CBS soap. Sure, Carter is the family's go-to marriage facilitator, but Thomas and Paris haven't set the date yet. So his appearance on the soap may work to entice the bride to be away from her pending groom. Thomas Forrester, Matthew Atkinson, made a fake proposal to Hope Logan, Annika Noel. But she said no, which is what Thomas thought she would say. His explanation was he wanted to prove a point to her. And the point he makes, despite knowing he's about to marry someone else, her love for him isn't enough to say yes to his marriage proposal. She would rather lose him. So Thomas Forrester is now playing games with Hope, although Paris Buckingham, Diamond White, isn't aware of this yet. But Bold and the Beautiful spoilers suggest she soon has reason to worry about Thomas. He jumps in to defend Hope Logan whenever Paris Buckingham mentions something negative about her attitude. Fans saw this earlier this week when Paris suggested the Logan daughter plays the victim. As she mentioned this to Thomas, he cut her off and turned it around. She's just blindsided by their plans to marry, was the excuse he offered for Hope's behavior. While her future in-laws seem to warm up to the idea of this quick marriage, Paris still feels the chill coming off the Logan side of the family on Bold and the Beautiful. So loving Thomas won't be easy for Paris Buckingham. Next, a power struggle likely flares up between Hope and Paris over mom duties for Douglas Forrester, Henry Joseph Samiri. It wasn't that long ago when Paris Buckingham stood at the altar with Carter Walton, Lawrence St. Victor. But she became the scorned bride when Carter's true love, for the moment, burst in. Quinn Fuller, Rena Sofer, stopped the wedding, only to up and leave Carter without warning soon after. One thing Bold and the Beautiful viewers learned about Carter Walton in the past is that he's a good listener. But another thing we learned is that when women, married or not, come to him with a confidential problem, he somehow ends up in bed with them. So Paris has a problem, and very soon it gets too heavy for her to carry alone. Bold and Beautiful spoilers promise a twist. So if Paris confides in Carter, he likely builds her up to the point where she becomes hot to trot for her old flame. B&B viewers surmised Paris Buckingham getting dumped by Thomas Forrester. They thought as soon as he gazed into Hope's eyes, that would be it. But no, so far he's stuck by Paris Buckingham. Still, this could change if Carter Walton works his magic. It's just a matter of time before Paris finds herself knocking on Carter's door with her woes about feeling like Thomas Forrester's second choice. While Hope might back off a bit on trying to halt the looming wedding, she won't back off her mom duties with Douglas. This could present a huge problem, and it likely brings Paris to Carter's shoulder for a good cry. Despite Thomas Forrester sticking by his choice to marry her, Paris Buckingham likely gets perturbed over his tendency to take her rival's side. Thomas had Douglas calling Paris Mom when they first arrived back on Bold and the Beautiful, but suddenly he calls him her stepson as if he's fixing this for Hope. So it's becoming more obvious that a bumpy road lies ahead for Thomas and Paris. And it's likely she finally realizes that despite the Forrester son giving it his best try, she will always be second best. The only reason Hope Logan is not his bride-to-be is that she refused him, and complaining about this to Carter Walton is likely in the cards. So, wait for that seductive background music to swell up with Carter Walton and the confused pending bride in the same room. All the clues seem to point to Thomas Forrester and how he likely ends up the scorned groom on the CBS soap. Bold and the Beautiful twist. Thomas scorned by Paris. Carter was her away. In the opulent world of Los Angeles fashion, the corridors of Forrester Creations were buzzing with the usual glamour, gossip, and high-stakes drama. Thomas Forrester, once the troubled designer with a dark side, had been striving for redemption. He believed he had found it in Paris Buckingham, the radiant and kind-hearted woman who had brought light into his life. But as in any soap opera, love was never straightforward. Chapter 1. The Seeds of Doubt. Thomas had always been intense, his passion for Paris no different. Their relationship, however, had hit rocky terrain as Thomas's old insecurities began to resurface. He couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't good enough for Paris, that his past misdeeds still cast a long shadow over their present. Paris, always understanding and supportive, found herself increasingly frustrated by Thomas's lack of self-assurance. One evening, after a particularly heated argument about his jealous tendencies, Paris stormed out of their shared apartment. She needed space to breathe, to think about whether Thomas could truly move past his demons. She found solace at the Forrester Creations office, where she often worked late into the night on her charity initiatives. It was there, amidst the sketches and fabric swatches, that Carter Walton found her. Carter, the dashing and honorable COO of Forrester Creations, had always admired Paris from afar. Her beauty, intelligence, and compassion had not gone unnoticed. As he saw her sitting alone, eyes red from crying, he couldn't help but approach her. "Paris, is everything all right?" Carter's deep voice was filled with genuine concern. She looked up, startled but comforted by his presence. "Oh, Carter, I'm just so tired of fighting with Thomas. He can't seem to trust me or himself." Carter sat beside her, offering a sympathetic smile. "Thomas has been through a lot, but that doesn't mean you have to bear the burden of his past. You deserve to be happy, Paris." Chapter 2. A Growing Connection. As the weeks went by, Carter and Paris found themselves growing closer. They shared lunch breaks, late-night brainstorming sessions, and even a few dinners that felt more like dates. Carter's steadiness and warmth were a stark contrast to Thomas's brooding intensity. Paris felt a sense of ease with Carter, a natural chemistry that she hadn't realized she craved. Thomas, on the other hand, began to sense the shift. He noticed how Paris' eyes lit up when she spoke about Carter, how she seemed to smile more when his name was mentioned. The jealousy that he had tried so hard to suppress flared up once more, leading to more arguments and a deeper rift between him and Paris. One evening, Thomas confronted Paris. "Are you falling for Carter?" His voice was a mix of pain and accusation. Paris's eyes widened with surprise and hurt. "Thomas, I care about you, but you need to understand that your constant suspicion is pushing me away. Carter has been a good friend, nothing more." But even as she said it, Paris couldn't ignore the truth she had been avoiding. Her feelings for Carter were growing, and she had to face them sooner or later. Chapter 3. The Breaking Point. The tension reached its peak at a Forrester Creations gala. The event was glamorous, filled with the who's who of the fashion world. Paris arrived with Thomas, but their interactions were strained, their smiles forced. Carter, looking dapper in his tuxedo, couldn't take his eyes off Paris. He had decided that tonight he would confess his feelings. As the night wore on, Thomas noticed Paris and Carter sharing a private conversation on the terrace. Unable to contain his jealousy, he stormed out to confront them. "What is this?" Thomas's voice was sharp, eyes blazing with anger. Carter stood his ground, a calm yet determined expression on his face. "Thomas, this isn't the time or place. We need to talk." Paris stepped between them, her heart pounding. "Thomas, stop. This isn't about you or your insecurities. I need to figure out what I want. And right now, you're making that impossible." Thomas's face fell, the realization hitting him like a ton of bricks. "Paris, please." But it was too late. Paris turned to Carter, her eyes filled with unspoken feelings. "Carter, let's go somewhere we can talk." Chapter 4. A New Beginning. Paris and Carter walked away from the gala, leaving Thomas standing alone, his heart shattered. They found a quiet spot by the ocean, where the sound of the waves provided a soothing backdrop to their conversation. "Carter, I don't know what to do," Paris admitted, her voice trembling. "I care about Thomas, but I can't keep living in his shadow." Carter took her hand, his touch gentle and reassuring. "Paris, you deserve to be with someone who trusts you, who supports you without question. I want to be that person for you if you'll let me." Paris looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and love that she had been missing. "Carter, I've been so afraid to admit it, but I have feelings for you too. I just didn't know how to face them. They kissed, a tender and heartfelt embrace that marked the beginning of a new chapter. For the first time in a long while, Paris felt a sense of peace and hope for the future. Chapter 5. The Aftermath. Back at Forrester Creations, the fallout from the gala was palpable. Thomas threw himself into his work, trying to numb the pain of losing Paris. But as days turned into weeks, he began to realize that he needed to confront his own issues if he ever wanted to find true happiness. Paris and Carter, meanwhile, started their relationship with a foundation of trust and mutual respect. They faced challenges together, but their bond only grew stronger. Paris's warmth and compassion complemented Carter's strength and stability, making them a formidable team both personally and professionally. Thomas watched from a distance, accepting that Paris had found happiness with Carter. It was a hard pill to swallow, but he knew it was for the best. He focused on his personal growth, determined to become a better man. In the ever-dramatic world of Forrester Creations, love, betrayal, and redemption were constants. But for now, Paris and Carter had found their moment of bliss, a bright spot in the often tumultuous landscape of their lives. And Thomas, though scorned and heartbroken, embarked on a journey of self-discovery that promised a brighter future.